The exhaustion is absolutely real. You feel it right down in your bones, don't you? That endless, draining weight of trying to maintain impossible standards. Day after day, you pour your energy into polishing, refining, and perfecting, completely convinced that if you just work hard enough, you will finally reach this state of unassailable excellence. But the peace you're looking for never actually arrives. Instead, there's only a lingering, heavy fatigue. This explainer is here to validate that burnout and to dismantle the illusion keeping you trapped. You are about to uncover the deeply hidden psychological reality behind the drive for perfection. This isn't about sacrificing quality, it is about reclaiming your mind. It is time to reframe everything you've been taught about this behavior. Perfectionism is not a virtue. It's not a relentless pursuit of high standards, and it's certainly not a marker of a superior work ethic. It is actually a biological anxiety response. Think of it as a heavy, cumbersome neurological shield. You carry this shield for one specific reason: to prevent criticism, judgment, and rejection. When you over-engineer a simple project, obsess over minor details no one else will ever notice, or constantly delay a launch, you aren't chasing excellence. You are actively trying to hide.
Society constantly praises the perfectionist, framing endless tweaking as some noble dedication to excellence. This cultural myth keeps you locked in a brutal cycle of endless labor. But the neurological reality is far different. Your brain isn't striving for an award here, it is scanning for threats. The drive to over-engineer tasks is driven entirely by anxiety. The true goal of perfectionism is simply to make yourself bulletproof. It's a pure survival mechanism triggered by a nervous system that perceives a flawed presentation or even a minor typo as a literal threat to safety.
This exhaustive pursuit comes at a massive cost. You are burning vast amounts of cognitive energy, not to innovate, but simply to protect your identity. Because when your work feels indistinguishable from your worth, any potential flaw in the output feels like a fundamental flaw in who you are. This is exactly why the burnout is so profound. The cognitive load required to anticipate and neutralize every possible critique just leaves you paralyzed. You're spending your most valuable mental resources fortifying a wall rather than actually building the life or the work you desire. It is a defensive posture that ultimately drains your bandwidth right down to zero.
To break free from this paralysis, a fundamental shift must occur. Step 1. Unmasking the fear.
So, why do you endlessly tweak? Reclaiming your cognitive bandwidth requires a deliberate choice to lower your standards. And understand this clearly, lowering your standards in this context is not a sign of laziness, nor is it a surrender to mediocrity. It is the ultimate psychological hack for sustained productivity and profound inner peace. It is the first necessary action to drop that heavy armor. Think about when a project nears completion. What exactly happens in your body? Notice the physical anxiety that suddenly spikes? Pay attention to that familiar tightness in your chest, the shallow breathing, the sudden urgent need to review the document just one more time. That physical sensation isn't dedication, that is the fear of exposure. The critical task here is separating your identity from your output. The work is just the work. It is not a referendum on your value as a human being.
Acknowledge the heavy truth of this statement. The desperate desire to endlessly tweak and revise is simply a defense mechanism. Its only purpose is to delay the exact moment of judgment. Every single time you change a font, rewrite a perfectly fine sentence, or add an unnecessary feature, you're just buying yourself another hour, another day of safety from potential criticism. Recognize this behavior for what it truly is. It's hiding. Once you unmask the fear, the urge to needlessly polish completely loses its power over your actions.
Recognizing the fear naturally leads to Step 2. Defining the minimum viable outcome.
This is where you replace an impossible, anxiety-inducing goal with a concrete, grounded boundary. You must purposefully transition your ultimate goal from being flawless to a strict baseline of being functional. Flawless is an illusion that keeps you trapped. Functional is a reality that sets you free. Here is the strict framework you must adopt before starting any task. First, define the absolute simplest, most basic version of the task that successfully solves the problem. What is the baseline functionality required? Second, write this parameter down. Make it physical, make it objective, and make it inescapable. Third, and most importantly, once the task hits this documented baseline of functionality, enforce a hard stop. You must force yourself to walk away. The project is complete the exact second it meets the written criteria.
Burn this equation into your mind. Any effort spent beyond the minimum viable outcome is wasted cognitive energy driven by fear, not necessity. When you find yourself crossing the baseline and attempting to add just a little more polish, recognize that you have re-entered the defense mechanism. You are no longer working to solve the problem. You are working to soothe your anxiety. Honoring the boundary of the MVO is exactly how you actively protect your energy and dismantle the armor of perfectionism.
Understanding the baseline logically is only half the battle. Step 3. The exposure therapy of done.
You cannot simply think your way out of a biological anxiety response. You must act your way out of it. This requires actively practicing completion to retrain your brain. Intentionally release work that feels slightly unpolished. Now, this is going to feel incredibly uncomfortable. Your nervous system will sound alarms warning you of impending disaster. Do it anyway. This process acts as psychological exposure therapy. By intentionally sending the email without rereading it 3 times, or submitting the report that is merely functional, you are directly challenging the deeply held belief that imperfection equals destruction. You are providing your brain with new, undeniable evidence that good enough is entirely safe.
When you deliver a good enough project, you will observe a few undeniable facts. The world does not end. You are not rejected by your peers or cast into catastrophic ruin. The system you are operating within still functions perfectly well. The feedback you feared either never materializes or it is minor and easily addressed. As you repeat this process and stack these realizations, something profound happens. The heavy neurological shield you have carried for so long begins to dissolve. The anxiety fades, replaced by quiet confidence and vastly expanded mental clarity.
Your worth is not tied to flawless execution. Drop the shield and let it be good enough. To stop over-engineering your work, use the Perfectionism Detox Checklist in the description. Subscribe to Thought Pattern Reset for more strategies to master your mind.